Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. Today we're doing part 2 of the Everyday Carry Mary Poppins bag, and that is... what was the contents of those pouches again? I had said in part 1 that there is a side pouch on the side of my bag, not necessarily yours, but it would be ideal for using a water bottle. I don't need that in my life. We have water fountains at work, and turns out I have water at home. So while it's nice that they provide that pouch, it's essentially dead space for me. So I turned it into something I could actually use. When you go to Dollar Tree, which I recommend everyone does, they got the good stuff there, you can get these sunglasses cases for $1.25 each. And you get them in a number of different colors. I went with 3 different distinguishable colors. That allows me to identify through color coordination what the contents is inside of these. They also have little plastic clips that work very well on the tensioner of the water bottle pouch. So if you had a smaller water bottle, you would be able to cinch the mouth down a little bit. I'm able to connect all 3 of those bags to that cinching drawstring, and now I cannot accidentally lose these. They can't accidentally fall off and go places they're not supposed to. Unless, of course, I decide to detach them, which even that's going to give me grief. So now I can disconnect it, and I can rotate in and out things if you wanted to make these seasonal, if you wanted to put, allergy meds in one of them, and sunscreen in a different one, kind of thing. Winter gloves and stuff. You could always rotate them in and out. Underneath this, I went ahead and added a few things. I have a shopping bag. This is some semblance of waterproofness. I can put this up over my bag. And now if it's raining, the majority of the water is going to hit the top and just bead off of it, right? I also have a storage bag that I can collect trash, dog poop, stuff like that. When I'm walking the dog, collecting dog poop is not a hobby of mine. But this gives me a means of a substantially larger bag than the relatively already full EDC bag that I already have. And it costs me nothing. You have waterproofness, collecting up trash. If the kids soil their clothes, either biologically or other ways, this is a way that I can tie those clothes off and I don't have to deal with the smell anymore as I'm transporting them back home to be washed. As I go deeper in there, I am reminded that I store a $20 bill in there. So I trust you know what a $20 bill looks like, but you can keep a few things in there. Cash, the plastic bag, as I said, a key to your house, to your car, stuff like that. People really aren't going to think to look past the obvious and start digging around inside here. So you do have some additional things that you can do. As we go in here, I have black and white nail polish, so I can paint various things, touch-up paint, or I've used the white for the firearms. If you're zeroing a scope, once you zero it, you can paint your scope turrets and the scope body. And as long as those 2 sections of paint line up, you know your turrets haven't turned. If the next time I pick it up, the white mark is here and the scope paint is here, then I know that the turret has been adjusted. I've also touched up paint on the vehicles and stuff like that by having it. I have clear coat as well. From Dollar Tree, this is double-sided foam tape. Good for sticking things to other things. You can see it's been used because turns out I don't sell products or celebrate things that I don't actually use. This bag has heavy usage. As you can see, it's starting to fray and fall apart. It may have another year or so in it. But double-sided foam tape, you'd be surprised how many uses you could find for this. Attaching neodymium magnets onto other things. Turns out double-sided tape works pretty well. Putting hooks onto your multi-tools, turns out works pretty well. So a couple different uses for that. I also have a roll of duct tape. The tip for the video here is instead of having a roll of duct tape, I have a roll of duct tape. I took a zip tie, cut it the same length as that duct tape is, and just started rolling it on it. This is a complete roll of, I want to say it's 10 yards of duct tape. It's maybe an inch and a tenth wide, maybe the size of a C-cell battery. And it's 10 yards of duct tape. Waterproof, can be used for all sorts of things that duct tape is used for. Works pretty well. You'll notice this corner is folded over on itself, and that allows me to more easily start peeling that tape instead of having to get a fingernail under there. So we have duct tape. We also have heat sink, shrink, Lord, heat shrink, in various different colors. And I'll remind you that the heat shrink that I used to color coordinate the zipper pulls was from this. I feel like this set, plus I think this is the biggest, and then you have two smaller sizes. It's like $5 on Amazon. Super handy for adding magnets onto your flashlights so that you now have a, I can't really show you because I don't have anything. Let's assume this is a piece of metal. You have a hands-free way of being able to have a flashlight magnetize onto a car frame, onto the bottom of the hood of your car, so you can hands-free at night as you're replacing an alternator in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere, Iowa, on the middle of a family trip because the wife's Chevy Equinox decided to have the alternator shit out at 124,000 miles, and I was able to replace it in the middle of a parking lot and punch my man card pretty good. So very nice to have heat shrink. Is that how I'm pretty sure that's where we started. So we have heat shrink there. I also have folded up aluminum foil. It is conductive. You can use it to build a small bowl for water or contain a small fire, stuff like that. A couple different uses for that. I have access to these at work. These are paper measuring tapes in both inches and metric. The benefit here is, one, the shape can be whatever you want it to be, in that it is not a puck or a square that cannot be bent or broken. Also, this can be used to measure things that aren't straight. By that I mean if you have to measure the circumference of your head to determine a motorcycle helmet size, hypothetically, but also in reality. This is flexible, where I can measure around something or across something that is not necessarily straight, that I want to get the individual actual surface area length, not just the length from end to end. So has its purposes. I'm pretty sure that's all we have in there. The other nice thing about this is because it is zippered, I don't have to zip it all the way open like a taco. I can just zip it down to here. It will stay relatively closed enough that I can get around to the thing I need, remove it, put it back in when I'm done with it, and zip it back up. Due to the fact that it is cloth, it is not necessarily waterproof, but you can also squish and reform the shape to fit back better a little bit into there. The next thing we have is I have some random heavier gauge cable. This came out of a ceiling fan install kit. I like to tinker and rewire things or test auxiliary lighting before I actually install it. So I have a couple sections of wire for that. The wire is also strong enough that, much like this adjustable guy, I can bend it into shapes and be able to pull keys out from a grate or reroute something through something with a relatively narrower section of wire. I also carry a multi-tool with me. Maybe the leads are too thick or are not long enough or can't reach to where they need to go. So I can connect this to the thing I actually want to meter, run it a foot away from where I want to meter it, and now I'm less likely to short it or whatever. But sections of wire. I also have alligator clamps. Two different colors. So green I would use for ground or negative, and then the white I would use for your hot or your DC positive. I have a relatively, how the heck could you have possibly done that? A relatively universal USB cable. So it's probably 2 feet long, it's not the longest, but you have a USB-C, a lightning bolt, and a micro. And by switching these out, you can now power 3 different devices. It could be Apple or Android or an older digital camera or whatever you have with you. I can charge up anyone's phone at, say, a birthday party, hypothetically, but also in reality. When my sister has a birthday party for her kids and her phone is at 40%, even though she knew she was having a birthday party for her kids, and I have the availability, the means to charge her cell phone when I'm very firmly in the Android camp. So great way to impress her friends, if that's of interest to you. But it is a way to also work with my battery backup, my USB battery pack, and I can charge things on the go. I can charge things wherever I am. This guy will also charge wirelessly, so I can wirelessly be charging a phone while I also have this plugged in and am charging a second phone kind of thing. So a couple different ways there. I have more double-sided foam tape as a backup. I use that quite a bit, so it's worth having. This is a 64 gigabyte USB thumb drive for data transfer. If my phone gets over full of pictures, if I'm on vacation, forgot to empty the memory card, take too many videos, totally legally possess movies that I absolutely paid for, I can transfer them to this by using this. So this is a USB-C to USB-A adapter. I can plug this into my Android phone, and I can now transfer data to and from this USB drive. If I want to give that perfectly legitimately legally purchased video to someone else, I don't have to, give them my phone or whatever. I can transfer it to this thumb drive, and I'm sure I'll totally get that thumb drive back. So carry that with me. More wire. Did I mention I like to tinker? So we have more wire there. Some blue painter's tape. And again, I have a little pull tab here that I can easily get access to it. We have another $20 bill. Run out of gas, need to go to a restaurant, forgot your wallet, need to settle a bet with someone at work. You have 20 bucks. Have some smaller wires. AA batteries, a lot of things used to run on AA batteries, but if you go to Goodwill or a flea market or something and you're looking to buy something with like a radio or a flashlight and you want to test if it works, these are AA batteries. These actually have the voltage tester built in, and you have to push it pretty hard, but you can see that those bars are now lit up. So I don't really have the lighting to show you. Maybe if I do that. Okay, so we have nothing there. If you push, and you have to push really hard in exactly the right place, but you can now see that those bars have lit up and have gone away. So I have 4 known to be good AA batteries, and I'll be able to test things or keep the kids' toys going or what have you. And then I have some odds and ends. These are solder in spade connectors. We have a habit of collecting the power wheels off the side of the road, the 12-volt yard cars. Turns out those batteries are crazy expensive. They're like $60, $80 if you buy them through the stores. Luckily, it's just a lead acid battery, and I have access to those at work. So I am able to cut the wiring of those rather expensive yard cars and wire up batteries that are going to the junkyard anyways. And it keeps my kids quieter, which keeps my sanity a little higher. Did I go through this one yet? I did not. So I was wondering why that closed so easily. And again, the fact that these are cloth, you can just stuff them full of things. And if it closes, you know you haven't maxed out the capacity, but you can just squeeze them and form them until they, one, zip, and two, return back to the side water pouch that we're using them for. The last one I have, if we open it up, I have a full-sized, I think this is like a 5-foot thick USB cable. I put a orange zip tie on it. One, so if I'm looking at this mess, I know I can grab that orange thing and it gets me to the connector. Two, if I have this in a car or something, it is a black cable. It's going to blend very easily on something, so the orange is going to draw attention and let me know where it is. It's also going to identify it as mine, because who else in your life has a zip tie on a USB cable? And if I end up borrowing or lending this out to someone or something, this is a means of identifying that it belonged to me. Long enough it could reach the backseat of a car. It could be used in a hospital if you're in a hospital bed, like when COVID kicked my ass the first time I was hospitalized in my life ever. This is long enough that it will reach to the wall behind the bed and be able to get to me, the bed, instead of, you know, the 3-foot Obama administration USB cables. No, I'm not joking about that. Look it up. Next up, we have toothpaste and a bamboo wooden toothbrush. Cut down. It used to be quite a bit longer. Much smaller. This is wood, so it is flammable. I can flake it and use it for things. Bound onto it for brushing teeth, clearly. In another video, I had a USB soldering iron. This is it. It has a battery built in, but I can also charge it from a USB-C. I have the soldering iron tip, the solder itself, and that is a mobile iron that I can use for out in the vehicle and all. I have some X-Acto knife blades that I can put into my vice grips, and I can use this as the handle and be able to do all the X-Acto knife stuff that you need to do in your life. But haven't been used yet, so they're not covered in adhesive and all. I also have, this has its own dedicated video on my channel, would recommend, but a pair of vice grips can be used for all the things. Pulling nails, creating a handle for your X-Acto knives, or I put a notch in it so I can use reciprocating saw blades. This is now the handle that I can use for those saw blades. Motorcycling. Turns out when you drop a 500-pound motorcycle, the handlebars are the first thing to hit, and on the handlebars are your clutch lever and your front brake lever, neither of which you want to break. They're going to break. So this can bite onto the remaining nub, and it now acts well enough that you'll be able to get home, at least, and then you replace the lever. All of this is purely hypothetical. I've never actually had to do that twice. We also have wiring nuts. I have, on occasion, been asked to co-workers' houses, because turns out I'm the handyman, to put in motion detecting lights in their driveway, or ceiling fans, or auxiliary lighting, or replacing light bulbs, or what have you. So having wiring nuts is helpful. We have a standard Bic lighter. That is the grandfather clock. Everyone should have one. Stand by for the cuckoo clock. Everyone should have one. This is a standard Bic lighter. This has also been covered in my Altoids video. There's a paper clip on it. Kind of weird. Why would you do that? Well, if you do this, this, and this, you now can actually activate the flame. Whereas if you run this under the gas button, I guess we'll call it, I cannot get that lighter to activate. So what that does is, inside of a pouch where things can randomly push up against that, this now mechanically locks the lighter from, one, starting your shit on fire, and two, wasting the fuel that you need to set your shit on fire. Wrapped around it is the same thing that was on my peanut lighter, and it is beeswax impregnated wick. So I can start the lighter, I can light the wick, and now the wick burns, saving the precious fuel. And this, honestly, this wick would probably run for an hour. So additionally, this wick does act as a way that I can cut this, light it, and set it down, and then put my fire bundle on top of it and start fires that way. Or you'll see it's holding its shape, so I can use this to reach down into a deep candle or light something further away that, you know, on like a gas stove or something. Once it lights, it's gonna poof. Well, I don't need to be here lighting it, I need to be here lighting it. And this gives me a way to extend out and light things at a more safe distance. The last thing we have is a second bundle of solder for the soldering iron, and a pair of actual full-size tweezers versus the ones provided on the Victorinox. This has saved my daughter from at least 2 ticks so far. We had a very heavy tick year last year here in Ohio, so having a full-size set of actual tweezers is helpful in the electronics world as well as out in nature. Several uses for that. And then I put some heat shrink on here to help me identify it a little bit better. The yellow is going to stand out in addition to the silver, and that gives me a little bit better gripping surface to hold on to that. So bunch of odds and ends. As I said, I'm very rarely going to be like, man, it's a good thing I'm going to be using these tweezers for the 3rd time today. But when there's a tick in your daughter's head, you need to address that. And you don't need to drive all the way back home to address that. You got to get on it. So these are odds and ends that I don't plan on really ever using. But when I do need to have them, I know that I have them and I know that they're with me. Again, there is a order to these based on the way that I have them connected. So we're just going to slide them back in to place. And that's what I keep in mind. You can, of course, put whatever you're going to be needing to carry in yours, but I find it works very well for me. Quick access, that's a bunch of smaller things that would just be randomly rattling around in the vast openness of this rather large bag for rather small components. So small odds and ends like that, chapstick, lipstick, sunscreen, meds, pills, glucose meter, check strips, you know, small stuff like that can very easily be stored in the side water bottle compartment with Dollar Tree sunglasses holders. So works pretty well for me. I thought I'd pass that along. And then next up, kind of the last thing we have is to start digging into the actual pouches. So stay tuned for that. So this is part 2 of many of my everyday carry bag, also lovingly known as my Mary Poppins bag. A couple co-workers at work have been very interested in what exactly is in this, what I carry, and they mock me for it. But they also know who to come to for the allergy pills and headache relief, because turns out I'm looking out for them. So that's what I have for today. Any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below. If you learned something today, go ahead and tell me. If you think I'm ridiculously out of my mind, I'll not be happy about it, but go ahead and tell me that as well. That's what I have. Go ahead and stay tuned for the actual contents of the bag. That'll be the next couple of videos, and that's what I have for you. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. This is outside the target demographic. I will catch you guys in the next video.